Okay, our goal tonight at KLM, welcome back to KLM, and our goal tonight is to take something that's called the greatest rule in the entire Torah and live it. Okay, what's the greatest rule? Right, loving your neighbor like yourself. It says this is the greatest rule in the Torah. But before we get there, I want to take you on a little journey, okay? And this journey will be I think, very helpful, okay? So, Corona was a rough year, very much financially for a lot of, economies took huge hit, right? Now, I have some friends who are entrepreneurs, and what entrepreneurs do is when they see the economy plummet and things are changing, they're looking for opportunities, right? They're saying, well, this creates a new world and new opportunities. And of course, if they can pull off that they can do something that makes billions, they're thrilled. And if if it doesn't take a lot of investment, amazing, right? I asked this one entrepreneur friend of mine, what are some of the businesses that actually took off in Corona? So everyone knows Zoom, right? Zoom took over the entire world. Here's one that was interesting, cosmetic surgery. Exactly, everyone's puzzled. Yeah, I was too. Why? Because people were appearing on camera so much that they wanted to look really good. So the cosmetic surgeons made a fortune. So Bitcoins, there's different things, okay? So now, I have something that, if you will, spiritually is just like this, okay? We can, excuse me for speaking in crass money terms, but billions, okay? Because it's an unnoticed opportunity. All right, and I'm going to open it up to you, okay? So, what is it? Listening, okay? Listening is something we do a great deal, okay? But we do not do it as a mitzvah, okay? Consciously. And that's what I want, that when you switch it over, it's unbelievable, okay? So now, first of all, I want to point out, why do we listen usually? The simplest thing is it's rude not to, right? We don't want to be rude. We do want to show respect, right? But it's like automatic behavior. If someone's speaking to you, you're going to listen, right? Now, so that's what we normally do. Now, I want to say, let's listen to do mitzvahs, okay? Now, I have to point out something. Let's say we're going to talk about listening is an act of loving your neighbor like yourself. Okay? Here's a different mitzvah. Listening can be a kindness. All right? And listening also develops your character. So those are three mitzvahs. Okay? Now, it's funny, when it comes to mitzvahs with people, sometimes people resist having kavanah for the mitzvah. Like one person says, I don't want, to treat people like a lulav I shake. I'm going to do the mitzvah of X. They're worried that you won't be as authentic if you're doing it because it's a mitzvah, okay? So as I was saying, we tend to listen for other reasons. We don't want to be rude. We don't want to be nice, We even try to listen, but what about listening as a mitzvah? And as I said, we're going to discuss that this doesn't take away from the sincerity. It makes it another thing completely. Okay? So now, let's go over again what the mitzvahs are. And I want to show you what's the difference of listening as a mitzvah or just listening, as they say here, stam. Just listening stam. Okay? So, I came up with a little mnemonic for this, okay? By the way, normally I provide posters. Anyone interested in a poster, please email me at the site below. My wife made some great posters for this, but we're going to go talking head today. So here's the thing. Lechem, right? That lechem in Hebrew means for you, right? Listening is for you. Lechem. El, loving your neighbor like yourself. Chesed. Listening is a chesed. And finally, em, midos. Listening is an act of character. Okay? Lechem, it's for you. Loving yourself, loving your neighbor like yourself. chesed, and midos tovos, having good character. All right. Now, let's compare let's say right now. See, this doesn't count. By the way, for all those watching and here, right now we're doing the ultimate mitzvah of listening, which is listening to Torah. And since KLM is all about having kavanah, have in mind right now you're doing the mitzvah of listening to Torah. Okay, that's phenomenal. But I'm talking about regular old listening, right? Your husband says this, your friend says this, your boss says this, etc. They're starting to talk to you, right? So if you do it stam, that's one thing. What if you do it again, lachem? If you do it as after kamocha, chesed, and midos. So this is so unbelievable. I wish it was Parshas Balak. Okay, take note of this for Parshas Balak. Here's the thing: when we do mitzvahs, especially when we do activities that are mundane, just listening to someone speak, right, in a regular. So, and then let's say you have in mind the mitzvah. You don't have any idea what just took place, okay? Now, in a certain sense, we'll only fully know in the world to come. But you know what? See, here's the thing. If you realized what inserting a little intention into your activities does, for sure you would just be doing it all the time. The Yetzer Hara would be on the mat. He would be out, right? So his job is to make it feel like it's not a big deal. You didn't do much. You won't feel it. Listen. There's somebody who knows so much better than we do what happens when you do mitzvahs. Who is it? He's not Jewish. Billam! Billam of Russia. Okay? You're not going to believe this. Okay? It says in Perek Chaf Gimel, Pasuk Chaf Dalet. Okay? Billam is looking at the Jewish people. And what does he say? He says, Hein! Am kalavi yakum uka'ari yisnaseh. Now the word hain is like the word hine. Okay? Now if you ask people, this is one of my favorite things from Rabbi Green, ask people to translate the word hine. How do you translate it? Behold. Behold, right. Like Shakespeare. Behold. Hork. Behold. So here's how my Rabbi translates it. Hine. Whoa! That's what Hine really is. That's the translation of Hine. Okay? So listen what Billam says. Billam says, oh! These people are like a lioness. And a lion is getting up and a lion jumping forward. That's what Billam said. Okay? He's looking then, he's seeing that. Now according to Rashi, what does he see? Ready? He sees them wearing tzitzis, saying Kriya Shema, giving their neshama to Hashem when they go to sleep. It's right in Rashi. Whoa! That's what he's saying. They're like a lion. And by the way, let's just talk about lions, lionesses and lions, okay? I was in South Africa, and thank God I came a week later than this event. It's very heavy, okay? You know, there's a lion park there, right? So they say very carefully, don't roll down your window, right? So this journalist rolled down their window and in 1 second took the head off. Can you hear it? The lion just went like that, okay? Now, and we say, I'm sorry, we say that's the power and speed and might of a lion getting up. It's very heavy. Now, we say, be a gibor ka'ari, right? Get up like that. But if you looked at them, I told you a heavy case, right? But when you look at lions, they look like the laziest things in the world. They're like they're falling asleep, you know, nodding off in class, right? But so why would our rabbis, it's in a Mishnah and Avos, say, get up like a lion, right? Because when they get up, it is like lightning and is with such force and power, okay? So you ready for this? It's just unbelievable. Billam had nevuah, right? Meaning that when he calls us like a lion getting up, and we think of it as a metaphor. It is not a metaphor. It is an accurate description of the reality. There's no better way to describe it than the force of lions. But we don't see this, right? The Yetzer Hara doesn't want us to see what happens when we do a mitzvah. And listen to what this is the Gur Aryeh explaining it. He says, this people is power. Okay, he says like this. He says, when it's talking about this power, it's talking about the mitzvahs. Why? Mitzvahs are gevura. He says mitzvahs are incredible might. Why? Why isn't mitzvah might? It doesn't necessarily seem like that. Sha'osei mitzvah poel pu'ula elokis nifla'ah. Because when you do a mitzvah, you have activated a wondrous divine act. You hear? It's a divine act. And he says, as a result, the Jews are not doing lowly little minor actions. They're doing, he says, noraim v'godol, awesome and great and mighty acts. That's what mitzvahs are. That's what Billam had to explain to us, okay? So now let's go back. I ask you, when someone says, hi, how are you doing today? And you say, fine, and then they start speaking to you. So what are you going to do? What I suggest is you listen l'shem mitzvah, okay? So now let's just go through the three mitzvahs, right? We said lachem. I'm going to keep repeating till we have the posters, right? So the L, the Lamed, the L is loving your neighbor like yourself. Haftarecha kamocha. So let's discuss how to do that, okay? I have an invention that I don't know if I'll be able to release this, but I think it would be very good. It's called the Haftarecha Kamocha mirror. So love your neighbor like yourself mirror, right? Why? Because what is the instruction? Just like you would like to be treated, right? If you see how you would like to be, do that for them. So imagine you're speaking, right? And you see yourself in the mirror, right? So how do you want, this is the mirror, how do you want to be related to when you're speaking, right? Number one, I guess you could say you would want that the person's focused on what you're saying. Their eyes are there, they're not on their phone, etc. They're focused, they seem to care, they nod their head in understanding, showing they're really listening, right? All of that is, if you looked in the mirror, that's how you would like to be spoken to, right? So that's the first thing. To listen is, even maybe everybody just take a minute right now, okay? And we don't right now, but just think for a second what you would like to see when someone's listening to you, or what would you like to experience, okay? So just take a second to think, a couple seconds to think about this, okay? I am too, okay? Can somebody tell me what you would like to experience? Just get some ideas.
It's transforming. When you realize that you could be that person talking to yourself so nicely, that could be the way you should talk to that other person.
Exactly. You want to be talked to nicely. I mean, you want to feel that you can speak and they're really engaged, etc. Right? So. Right. Okay. Now I'm speaking right now, and even though you're listening to me, everybody listening to me are also doing the mitzvah of learning Torah, which you should have in mind. But right now, okay, just have in mind that think of how you'd like to be listened to, and listen to me like that. Okay. But most importantly, have it in mind. Don't you want to be like this awesome lion? Don't we want it to be a divine and awesome act. So when you have the kavanah for the mitzvah, it's divine and it's awesome, okay? So that's number one. Okay, so that's L, love your neighbor like yourself. Chesed, okay? Now, why do we do Chesed? Why should we do Chesed? So the simple answer is, as my wife said, God said so. And she's right? That's why we do Chesed. But you know why we do Chesed? The Torah commandment that is the root for Hesed is not a Haftarecha Kamocha, according to the Havetz Chaim. It's Halakta B'drachav, walking in God's ways. Just like God is kind, we are kind. Just like God is compassionate, we should be. We're walking in God's ways, we're emulating Hashem. So the real reason we should be kind is because just like He's kind, I should be kind. But I ask you something, this really blew me away on Shabbos. Is it really comparable? So I was thinking about this. Just like God's kind, I'm kind. So it was Shabbos afternoon. I had a nice rest, right? Sitting on my couch, very pleasant. Kids are asleep, very pleasant. So anyhow, I'm sitting there and I was thinking about God doing kindness, right? So I'm thinking, I have a house. I'm sitting in a couch. I rent, but still, I have shelter, right? I can see, I can think, I can smile. I think, whew, the sun is shining. The Hashem is like drowning me in kindness, right? So now I'm going to do just like He does kindness, I'm going to do kindness. So I realized, in my humble opinion, this is what I think Avram Avinu understood. He says, look at how much kindness He's doing me. Like, he thought it was His eyes and His toes, and He can walk and He can speak and on and on and on. He's like, He is doing so much. So of course, even though He's writhing in pain, He's going to go out of the tent and look for kindness opportunities, right? Right, like Ibn is doing, Yad Sarah, etc. If you realize, if you just calculate in any second how much kindness He's doing, we should maybe do kindness, right? So we should look for opportunities to listen as an act of kindness, right? When sometimes just merely showing you care. I've had times where a person just looks a certain way or groans and I felt so understood, that's a kindness, right? So you hear? So just like God does kindness, we'll do kindness, okay? We should be sprinting after kindness opportunities when we think about how much kindness He does for us, okay? Last one, okay? I think you'll get a kick out of this. There's another aspect of walking in God's ways besides emulating His wonderful care and concern and kindness. It's also fixing your character traits, removing your deficiencies. Why? Because Hashem is perfect, and Hashem exudes perfect character, right? And if our character is intentionally imperfect, with problems, to give us this mitzvah to walk down His path, right? And remove the deficiencies, right? So, here's a big, bad, ugly character trait. Impatience. I think you'll agree with me? Being impatient, right? So, right? The thing is this, when you're listening, what a way to break the bad trait of impatience and cultivate patience, right? First, you have not interrupting. That's number one. Then you have not formulating what you're going to say to them while they're speaking, right? You have, showing interest even when you're tired.
It's